How you doing out there, folks? My name is Bill Allison. Thanks for visiting my website, watching my videos. Alright, what we're going to talk about today is just really some basic ways to rig all your soft plastics and all the different ways that you can do it. Most of us know all the different ways that we can rig our plastics, especially depending on what the fish are doing. This just kind of help people out there that may not know exactly how to do it or know how to do it but possibly doing it the wrong way. Now, hopefully I'm doing it the right way too. Alright, the first thing that we'll get started with is just the basic, probably the most commonly used technique to fish plastics with, and that's what's called the Texas rig. Now, I've already tied these up, but just to save us a little bit of time, but I'll show you exactly what I did here. Now, what I've got is I've got a Trokar 4/0 hook, just a simple Trokar 4/0 hook, and then I got just a bullet weight here. Now, your weight obviously depends on what type of technique you're doing. If you're trying to punch grass, you want to use a big 1 ounce weight or something like that, depending on how thick the grass is. But my rule of thumb is I try to go as light as the wind will allow me to go. Something else that I also like to do here is I also like to peg my weights. And what that does is it keeps that weight right against the top of that hook. Okay? That weight's not going to move up and down the line. It's not going to move anywhere. And the reason why I like to do that is because if I'm flipping structure or I'm flipping trees, things like that, I like my weight to be on the same side of that structure as my bait. Okay, a lot of times you get that line tangled up around the structure and things like that when your weight's on the other side. Okay, now to actually rig your plastic up here, is what I've got is a culprit. This is a 7-inch Fat Max in a red shad color. This is a brand new bait, came out this year by Culprit Lures. And it's got a very thick body. And with this tail here, the way they've built this tail, this is designed by Elite Series Angler Dustin Wilkes, is this tail will not wrap around any structure. It won't wrap around your trees and things like that, which will cause, obviously a lot of hang-ups and things like that and lead you to believe you possibly have a bite. Okay, first thing you're going to do here is you're going to take this Trokar hook, you're going to run it down the center and top of your worm, run it down just slightly, and then poke it out the top or out the side like that. Okay, and then you want to run it all the way up your shank to your weight, push it up over the eye of your hook. Okay, so it should sit just like this. Now, after you do that, you want to push your bait up and into the hook like so, and you want to run that hook through. Now, you don't want to run the hook all the way through. You want to kind of keep it weedless there. Okay, when you do that, you should have a nice little straight, your worm should have a nice little straight presentation just off the hook like that. Alright, again, that's your Texas rig. Probably your most common technique used when flipping plastics or throwing plastics. Alright, the next commonly used is what we use when we try to get that deep water bite and suspended fish and they want to get real finicky and things like that. We want to move to a Carolina rig. Alright, again, this is another commonly used technique here. Now, what you do is you're going to have your main line here. Now, on your main line is where you're going to go ahead and you're going to put maybe a couple beads on it, like here, and a nice big weight. Okay, I got a nice, real big, heavy brass weight on here to get that bait down there and to keep this main line on the bottom of the water. Okay, or on the bottom of the lake. Now, next thing you want to do is you want to tie your nice swivel on at the end of your main line. This is so you can so you don't have line twist. After that, you're going to have your leader. Okay, your leader is really going to depend on where those fish are suspended at. It's really going to vary. Typically, at a minimum, I would say about a 12 to 14-inch leader minimum. And you can really change this up a lot. You can have braided line, you can have mono, you can have fluoro on your main line, and then you can go with something a little bit different on your leader. Again, depending on what the fish prefer. Get out there, throw different types of line, and who knows. Now, you can pretty much Carolina rig anything. You can Texas rig. Again, depending on what the bass are feeding on. Now, what I've got here is I've got a culprit lizard, and this is a pumpkin with a chartreuse tail. I really like Carolina rigging lizards. They seem to do pretty well for me. And again, you're going to hook this up the exact same way that you hook up the Texas rig. Okay, you're going to run your Trokar hook slightly down, push it all the way up over the eye, and then back through. Remember to pinch in. Okay, now so what this does is when you've got this Carolina rig in that deep water, that weight's going to, this heavy weight and these beads are going to hold this bait or hold this line down like this on the bottom of the water, and you're going to hope that this lizard is going to sit up here and kind of flutter. It's going to kind of float. Okay, when you pop it, drag it, these beads are going to clamp together and create a lot of noise and a lot of water disbursement. Okay, again, very commonly used Carolina rig. Now, since we're talking about finicky fish and things like that in deep water, maybe not want to bite, I've got a couple other presentations here that I like to throw when they're suspended and they're just finicky and they don't want to bite nothing. They just got lockjaw. And the first one is a technique that's really starting to catch on. A lot of people are using it, and it's called the shaky head. Now I've just got an EBT shaky head jig here, and what I like to use here is I use all finesse baits, all finesse worms. And again, here's another new bait come out by Culprit this year, and this is called the T-Rex. And this is the tomato color. Now, you're going to pretty much rig this up exactly like you would a Texas rig, Carolina rig. Now, you can find your shaky heads out there that's got screw locks or something like that to where you just screw your bait straight into the head like so. They're not bad. They're good. I just prefer just to have this straight shank just like this and rig it up just like a regular Texas rig. Push it all the way up over the bait keeper on the jig head, and again, push it in and run it through. Remember, don't run it all the way through. You want to keep it. So it's weedless. Now, it's what you do here with this shaky head. When you throw it out there, because of the angle of these shaky head jigs, is what's going to happen is this head's going to sit right on the bottom of the water, and this shaky head or this worm is going to float. Now, Culprit's T-Rex has got this nice little paddle tail on it, and it's going to create a lot of disbursement in the water. It's really going to move real good action. Again, this is a very, very good technique to catch some finicky fish. I'll throw it out there and I just kind of shaking my rod tip a little bit. Probably only going to move it about 1 inch or 2 inches at a time. Very slow presentation. Take your time with this. Again, great technique for those finicky fish. Now, a lot of times you won't feel the bite. Bass are known with this shaky head is they'll hover right over top that shaky head and they'll just pin it straight to the ground. Okay, so make sure you're paying attention. Now, moving on to another great technique for very finicky suspended fish. Again, this is my go-to. I'm telling you, the shaky head and this right here is my go-to when the fish have just got lockjaw and they just don't want to bite nothing. And that's your drop shot. Now, with this drop shot, is what you do is you take, I got an Owner 1/0 hook right here, and you're going to run it down your main line, and you're going to tie a Palomar knot. Now, when you tie this Palomar knot, you're going to leave a very long tag line, okay, very long. I like to leave at least 12 inches on my tag line, and also, again, it just depends on where those fish are suspended. Use your electronics and try to figure out how far they're suspended off the bottom of the ground. Okay, now, after you tie that Palomar, you're going to have this real long tag line, okay? Take that tag line, run it back through the eye of your hook so that you can ensure that that hook is standing straight up. That hook's got to be pointing straight up. That's very important. If it's not pointed straight up like so, you're really going to have your hook ratios going to go down. Now after that, you're going to tie you a nice little drop shot sinker at the bottom of it. Now this drop shot sinker, they make a lot of them where they could just break right away. You don't really want to tie it too tight because typically this is what gets hung up in the structure. So you would rather just lose your weight as opposed to your whole rig. Okay, so drop shot weight is very, very important. Now, there's a couple different ways that you can tie your finesse baits with this. I've seen people, and I've done a Texas rig, just kind of like we do with everything else. But something I like to do is I like to just kind of do like a little half Texas rig. You're going to start a Texas rig, and you're going to run that hook through, and instead of running it all the way up and turning it, you're just going to keep it on there. You're just going to hang it on there just like that. Okay, and what will happen is that weight's going to be on the bottom, and that bait's going to stand straight up in the air just like this floating. And if you've got your leader or your tag lines long enough, you're going to have it right in them fish's face. Okay, and they can't resist it. They cannot resist this drop shot. Again, this is a great go-to technique when the fish are suspended. Now, you heard me tell you with this drop shot that we typically that you need to tie a Palomar knot with that long tag line. All these other techniques. Now, I love tying a Palomar knot. I've never had a problem with this knot. It's probably the best knot out there. I will tie a Palomar knot to my shaky heads, my Texas rig, and I'll tie it to the hook portion of my Carolina rig. Now, when I tie my leader and my main line to my swivel, I like to tie the improved clinch. The improved clinch is once again another great knot, and I haven't had any problems with it. So, just to recap what we talked about the just the different ways that you can rig plastics. Carolina rig, Texas rig, shaky head, and the drop shot. I hope this helped you guys out, and if you have any questions, please go to my comment page and contact me and let me know. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Or if you've seen something that I may have said wrong, please just go ahead and correct me, and I'll do another video thanking you for correcting me. Again, this is Bill Allison Sr. Thank you for visiting my website. Hope to see you on the water.